Thanks so much for those who sent me the question about China. Today I'm just going to answer all these questions for you all. Question number 1. What does it feel like for you in China as a Taiwanese-Australian woman? How do they treat you and see you? I think most people see me as their own. They speak to me in Mandarin, then I respond in Mandarin with a different accent. They realize that I'm not local. They start asking me more questions like, where are you from? When did you return to the motherland? And for them, for the Chinese people, it seems like that if you look Asian or Chinese, you must be Chinese, or there must be a Chinese story in your family. I mean, it's fair enough, but also not all the Asians are Chinese. I often hide my Taiwanese identity to avoid any uncomfortable and political questions and comments. When I go out with a group of Australians in China, the locals rather speak to me and they assume that I am a tour guide for the Caucasians. And it can be a little bit annoying as everyone in my group can speak and understand Mandarin, but it is also very fun to see the reaction of the locals when we all talk back in Chinese to them. Question number 2. What is the pollution like? Many people think that Beijing has terrible pollution. It is true, but it is also not horrible as many years ago. Or maybe I'm just used to it now. So ever since the Beijing Olympics in 2010, the Chinese government has done a good job on pollution issues. So when there is a bad day, it is difficult to see the top of a building or the roof of a building. And I'd say there has been one bad day in a month so far. AQI app is a great tool. It gives you very detailed statistics. So I always check the AQI app before I head out to do things. There are 2 different standards. One is the US AQI and another one is the CN or Chinese AQI. I use the US AQI, which is stricter on the pollution level. And the Chinese AQI is a little bit looser. It's sort of on the Chinese standard. I sometimes use the Chinese AQI. Sometimes I cheat. Yeah, I switch between these 2 AQIs to fit my expectation, I guess, because I wanted to go out. Also, another thing is that smokers are everywhere. This is not what I'm used to be honest. Apart from the public transportation, you can still smell cigarette in a lot of places, even in toilets. Question number 3. How are these supermarkets different? To be honest, I do most of my grocery shopping on my phone. There's so many different apps where you can get groceries delivered in no less than 30 minutes. And they're nice and fresh. Yeah, you don't need to get out of the house to get your food, which is awesome. Occasionally I shop at local markets, so the fruit and veg are cheaper and they're also quite nice and fresh. Where I live in Beijing has a big expat community, so there are a few supermarkets with imported items. You can get Australian-made wine, Australian-made products, or European-made products in all these little supermarket stores. However, the price is not cheap like the local markets. There's anything you can get, and they're a little bit pricier than back in Australia as well. There are also supermarket chain stores like Carrefour from France, Sam's from America. Sam's is kind of like Costco. You have all these big family-sized meals available and bread and fruit and veg, all that stuff. Well, actually, I just saw the last Carrefour in China just closed down last week. Yeah, it's a shame. I think people are really missing that in-person experience with shopping where you can actually see the products. Question number 4. Are people welcoming you and your partner, or are you treated as outsiders? You know, we're always outsiders here. If you're not Chinese, you're always outsiders. There is a very big expat community in Beijing. Any questions can be answered in a WeChat group or any WeChat groups full of expats or set up for expats. Foreigners don't get access to local schools. A lot of my friends, expat friends, have to send their children to international schools. So yeah, there's a bit of a separation between foreigners and the local Chinese people. Question number 5. Do the people you meet know much or anything about Australia? To be honest, I'm mostly surrounded by Aussies and expats. Most people know about Australian cute animals and deadly animals, the beach and Sydney Opera House and coffee. People I've met always ask how the Australians can still go out in the wild, which is insane for them because we have all these crazy animals and maybe drop bears. Yeah, snakes. Crazy. Duh. Question number 6. What is your favorite food? Well, I love noodles. I like Xi'an noodles. And also a lot of cold Chinese dishes like marinated cucumber, which is called pai huanggua, and shredded potatoes, which is called 土豆丝. And they're amazing. I can eat them every single day. They're so cheap and so good. Yeah, that's my favorite food in China. Question number 7. Are there environmental groups or is that seen as anti-government? Good question. I've been doing some research on environmental groups in China, but so far I can only see that United Nations and Greenpeace and so on, they have a WeChat account, so people can still see and understand what these organizations do. That's something for the locals to know. Question number 8. Have you found any good baristas nearby that make a decent coffee like the ones in Australia? Well, flat white is surprisingly common in China. The Chinese translation of flat white is Australian white coffee, so it's called 澳白. The Australian coffee culture has a big influence in China. Coffee here can be really pricey. A small flat white is between 35 to 50 yuan, which is about $7 to $12. Coffee isn't bad here. I just haven't found my favorite cafe yet. Question number 9. Why did you decide to become a musician? This is not China or Chinese related question, but I'll answer it anyway. I just find it easier to tell people about my feelings in music. I'm actually an introvert and I find it really hard to talk about myself with others, but writing it all out in a song gives me a channel to express myself a little bit better and a little bit more. It's a way to open a conversation with people for me. So there you go. That's why I want to be a musician. And here I am, making YouTube videos. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope I've answered all the questions for you. Again, I'm not an expert in everything, but this is my answer based on my experiences. So, see ya.